interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Guys Live, the series where we talk about all your favorite movies, TV shows, all the news, and everything you need to know. Joining me today, the greatest minds of the Real Movie Guys universe, we have Adam. Say hi, Adam.
Hello.
And we have John.
Hello.
And last but not least, Julie.
Hi, everyone.
Well, guys, another episode. Right now, we're hitting on episode 4 of our series. Didn't think we'd make it this far, so that's always a plus, I think. Everyone seems to be liking it. You guys seem to be interacting with it, so that's kind of cool. You know, it's nice to see at least some kind of interest because somebody cares about what we have to say about movies and stuff. So, again, always heartwarming, always nice. What I want to ask, guys, my favorite question, you know what I'm going to ask you. What are we watching? What are you telling everybody out there that they should be watching? Maybe we shouldn't be watching. What's going on? John, how about you? Let's start with you. I don't usually pick on you first. Let's go for it. What are you watching?
Well, this past week I've been watching The Godfather.
Okay.
1, 2, and 3.
Nice.
Because it's the 50 years ago it came out, I think. Something like that.
Right. And there was a new 4K release, right? There was a physical release for The Godfather?
Yeah, the 4K was released and it looked really good.
Okay.
It's
go ahead, yeah.
one of those movies that I feel like everybody should watch at least once in their life. Definitely one of those interesting movies.
I mean, yeah, The Godfather is a classic for a reason. It's probably one of the greatest series ever made. You know, I mean, sometimes I feel like we forget that in culture when we talk about other, like, sci-fi franchises and, like, it's always, like, the Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings. I feel like those are, like, the two big ones everyone talks about. Godfather really is, like, one of the biggest, like, trilogies ever made, and people don't necessarily have that in the same conversation, at least in our, like, spectrum of conversation. I feel like it never leans that way. Now, my question for you... Did you watch the Coda release? I haven't seen that yet. That's a recut of The Godfather 3, right? Wasn't that included? I think. With
I didn't watch that. I didn't get to that one yet.
Okay, because that's what I'm most curious about. For those who don't know, The Godfather 3 is like considered the weakest of all the Godfather trilogy. Now, there's a recut of the third movie called the Coda Cut, which was Francis Ford Coppola recut the movie differently to the way he would have envisioned it now, with like extra scenes that were added. I've heard nothing but good things. It's kind of cool that we're seeing that kind of come back into society where a director can go back and re-release it. You know, I'm looking at you, Zack Snyder, with the Snyder Cut. Also, Sylvester Stallone did that with Rocky IV. He recut Rocky IV, cutting out the talking robot. Julie was really upset. I know she loved Happy Birthday, Polly.
It's like the best part of the movie.
Well, so some would disagree with you on that, but I don't know. I liked it. It's cheesy nostalgia for me. So you know, if you're gonna leave it in, whatever, it is what it is. But cool, John. I'm glad. You know, I'm glad you're enriching your cinematic adventure there. Anything else you've been watching? Any other shows or anything? Or just that's kind of taking up your time? That is a big investment.
No, not really. I mean, pretty much that. And I've been watching. They've had this new thing on WWE. It's like the Villains or something like that. I think it's called
WWE Evil, right? That was
yes.
Like the big series. You know, it's funny. I kind of wanted to talk about that. We're not all wrestling fans, so it's not something we can talk about. But there's a scene with the wrestler Randy Orton talks about how he gets into character. And for those who wonder like how wrestlers become actors, that's the scene that you need to see. He like amps himself with so much hatred, and like his personality changes. Like he's a different person. And you wonder how they have such an easy transition, like Dave Bautista, John Cena, The Rock. Like, you'd see how these people had such an easy transition into that limelight. It's easy to see why, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's also, too, interesting, like, just to see the behind-the-works of these characters that they internally create, but then how it affects, like, their lives, too. Like, for The Miz, it was almost like he's got the Miz character, and then he's got himself, who's Mike. And they're totally, completely different people.
Right.
And it's just interesting to see how, like, they're able to sometimes bring this into, and then in their real life, there's something completely different, but they live vicariously through this character.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, what is wrestling but another form of acting on a grander stage that's live? It essentially is the same thing. You know, it's a man's soap opera for a reason. That's exactly what we've always called it, and you know, it's known as that. But you know, they bring something just like any other actor. I think that, you know, they deserve credit. Not all of them are, you know, seasoned, obviously, but still fun, still fun. But cool, John. I'm glad you had something to recommend there. Adam, how about you, man? What have you been watching?
Well, that one anime that I mentioned, I think the last time, My Dress Up Darling,
Right.
the season finale was yesterday, actually. So finished up that. And then movie-wise, I just watched Chronicle for the first time. I'd never
Really?
seen that movie.
Never
Yeah,
seen that. Okay.
no.
What'd
Oh,
you
it was
think?
good.
Yeah.
That's good. I enjoyed it. And then after we saw the trailer for the new Nicolas Cage movie,
Oh my God.
we decided to watch one of his lesser known movies
Okay.
called Pay the Ghost.
Pay the Ghost. I have never heard of that movie. Tell me about that. I need to know.
It's interesting. It's about there's a couple, and then Nicolas Cage is the father, and he ends up losing the son as he goes to a Halloween like carnival.
Okay.
And it turns out that there's this like ghost, I think they call a crone, that's going around taking children every Halloween to kind of make up for her children getting killed many years ago and stuff like that. So he has to go through this gauntlet of trying to
Right.
try and get his child back and whatnot.
Okay. That sounds kind of cool. So what would you? Is it like a B movie kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like a Nick? Was it a paycheck movie for Nicolas Cage or?
Yeah,
You know?
that's what it kind of seems like. I mean, CGI is kind of in the movie, and
But you had a
there's
good time. I'm not hearing negative coming out of you with this movie.
I don't know. I enjoy those kind of movies, so I think it's fun.
That's awesome. That's cool. You know, I like that a lot. Nicolas Cage, when we're going to talk about that when we talk about the trailer, because we actually are going to talk about the trailer in this video. So, I think that's interesting. But Chronicle, I'm also very surprised that this is the first time you've actually seen it.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Chronicle? I know a lot of people. I've seen like a lot of positivity over the years. I've actually seen more negativity over that movie. I personally was always I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it. I get a lot of really big Akira vibes from that movie.
Right.
Especially towards the end when he's bugging out and they have like that whole scene. What did you think of it? Do you like how it used found footage in that instance? Or
I think with that movie, it worked. It really worked with that movie. I think that, and then towards the end when they start doing like the whole the different angles from like other people's perspectives,
Right.
I thought that was awesome.
I think so too. It's also a good launch point for Michael B. Jordan and Dane DeHaan, who are big actors right now. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, obviously, I think you can make the argument the bigger of the two. Dane DeHaan, I like Dane DeHaan a lot. I think he gets a lot of crap roles. What was that? He was in that weird sci-fi movie. I can't remember what it was.
Nope.
It's gonna bother me. Sorry.
I can't remember the name, but it looked like he was like investigating some kind of like healthcare or center or asylum place. Is that what you're talking about? Or no, never mind. You're thinking of the other one with Cara Delevingne or whatever.
What was that
remember.
movie? Yeah, I can't.
Hold on. Let me do an IMDb jump into him. I think he's a really interesting actor. Like I've liked what I've seen him. I mean, most notably, he was the Green Goblin and
Right, Valerian.
Spider-Man.
It was Valerian in
Yeah,
the City
Valerian.
of a Thousand
That's it.
Planets. That movie is one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. And I didn't even finish it. It was that bad. I don't know what they were doing casting in that movie. Maybe someday we'll have to do that. That would be really fun.
I was thinking of the movie A Cure for Wellness.
Oh,
That's what I
okay.
was thinking.
Yeah, that's interesting too. But again, that would be a fun list to pool of just really terrible movies that you don't understand how that happened, because he's one of those actors that gets that. Sometimes he just shows up in things that are like.
He's got some big stuff coming up though. He's well, at least for me personally, he's going to be in The Staircase, the adaptation of that true crime docuseries. He's going to be in The Staircase playing one of the Peterson children. But he's also going to be in Oppenheimer, which is
Oppenheimer, yeah.
Oppenheimer, yeah.
For,
Christopher Nolan.
I want to say Christian Bale. See, I can't confuse the two half the time. But
Yeah, that's motto.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan always gives something good. I know it's a bad fact. I have not watched Dunkirk at all. That's like the one movie I have not watched for whatever reason. Not because it's bad. I just never got to
I
it.
saw that in theaters. It was good.
It was good. See,
Yeah.
We never even saw the other one too with
what?
Robert Pattinson and
That is that it? Was there another one?
no, the one that came out more recently, Christopher Nolan did.
Oh, see, not good. See, sometimes even the guy who watches
It's the
Oh.
one with the time traveling or whatever.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tenet. Tenet.
Yes,
Yeah, we have not
yes.
watched Tenet. That's right. Wow. So we're 2 behind. That's not good. All right. Side note, Kevin, gonna go back. Gonna go do a Christopher Nolan marathon. Gotta get back on it. Anyway, Julie, what have you been watching?
Not much that's any different than what you've been watching, but last night started season 2 of Bridgerton on Netflix. So I'm
Unfortunately.
about no, it's good. About 2 episodes in. I'm happy with how the season's going so far. It's focusing on the eldest Bridgerton son, on his quest for marriage, and it's not going so well in true Bridgerton fashion. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Don't know if it's going to get as racy as the last season was. It's pretty tame for Bridgerton standards at the moment, but again, only 2 episodes in, got 6 more to go. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's something, Bridgerton. I'll leave it at you that, Julie loves it, so it's one of those things I end up watching. I have something really interesting, though, to bring up, because I had this question for a while, and I don't know if anybody else had. Where's Jason Segel been? Right? Like, what has he been doing as far as an actor? Like, I can't remember the last... I think the last thing I remember him doing was that Muppet movie. It was, like, the last thing I remember him in. Like, I couldn't tell you the last thing I've seen him in. So, by surprise, a Netflix movie actually just dropped called Windfall. And, I checked it out. I didn't know much about it. It looked like a more serious movie coming from him, especially from a comedic actor. It's interesting. Has Lily Collins and Jesse Plemons are in it. Jesse Plemons, for Breaking Bad fans out there, I'm sure, Creepy Todd. We all know who that is. But Windfall, surprisingly, really, really good. I would say it's like the best thing I've ever seen, which, what is really at this point. But for what it was, I thought it was like a really interesting, dark, slightly comedic thriller. I don't want to say it was a dramedy. I don't think it was necessarily. It was more on this like thriller. Pretty much basically what it is. You don't get much detail, which again is something I immediately love. It goes in, Jason Segel breaks into this house, and you just see him like walking around, like messing with stuff. Obviously looking for money, maybe something else, but really just kind of money and just like walking around. And then Jesse Plemons and Lily Collins come home and they find Jason Segel in their house. And essentially he's telling them like, I want to leave. He finds a gun, he puts it up to them, and he wants to get away without getting arrested, the whole thing. A very interesting thriller, which pretty much has only 3 those 3 actors are the only 3 actors in the movie. And the reason I don't use their character names is because they really don't have character names, which I also like that too. It's just like the man, the guy, the woman, the wife. Like they don't actually have. I like stories like that are contained.
Yeah. He's referred to as nobody, Jason Segel's character, and then it's the wife and the CEO.
Right. Okay. That sounds about right to me. Again, very interesting premise, which, if you like that kind of like uneasy tension, there's a lot of that in the movie. And there's also some weird like comedy bits thrown in. I mean, Jason Segel's automatically likable when you see him, so it's kind of hard not to like just chuckle every time. Even when he does something serious, I find myself like laughing. But the whole movie really on edge. It was short, about an hour and 30 minutes. If you have time, I really recommend it. It's something I do want to maybe address in the future at some point, maybe on a separate video, just talking about it. Just about that like very simple filmmaking where you don't need this elaborate story to tell us something interesting. Taking just like this small event and giving us like a glimpse at it, I think it's really interesting. Again, if you like that kind of old school thriller, I think you're really going to have a good time with Windfall. So, glowing remarks from me. I recommend really everyone check it out. But we have not too much news this week, I don't think. We tried, circulating the what's going on the internet. I really couldn't find much for us to talk about. But there is a couple things I think we need to just quickly discuss. The big release this week was The Batman. Adam still has not seen The Batman. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
That's all right. It happens, man. I get it. But interestingly enough, they released a deleted scene from The Batman that included the Joker. Now, it's interesting, I think, to think that when I saw the movie, the Joker, this isn't a spoiler, the Joker's not really in the movie, and he's not even referred to as the Joker. He's referred to as, like, the Laughing Man. At, like, the end of the movie, there's, like, a brief, like, little glimpse of him. But the scene that we got was this huge deleted scene between Batman interrogating the Joker, Hannibal Lecter style, going up to him, asking him for information. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about is not so much, you know, we're not going into spoilers about the Batman, because I don't think that's really the point of this conversation. I want to just go around. What do you guys think of the Joker in this scene? What do you think of his portrayal, how he looks? The look being the biggest controversy, which I've seen some photos expanded and despanded. His face always looking different every time, which maybe that's part of the purpose of it. That's also, I think, part of the reason maybe it hasn't been released is because they don't have the final look down. Let's start with Adam. Now, Adam, what did you think? Now, you haven't seen the movie, so again, I don't think you need to have context, but what do you think of this look of the Joker, the tone that we got from it? What did you think of this scene overall?
It definitely has a very eerie feel to it. It's got I think it's very different. It's very unique than the other Jokers that we've seen. And I think that works with the dynamic with this tone, at least that the Batman movie is from not someone that's not seen it.
Right.
You know, potentially portraying, I guess.
I think that's
so
important.
I feel like it works.
I think that adds not seeing the movie, because this is giving you a glimpse into what I already saw. So it's interesting to see like that perspective that you have on this, not knowing the context of it. What do you think of like the dynamic between the two of them? And this is your first like really seeing Robert Pattinson as Batman. What did you think of that? Like,
I think they definitely worked well with each other. I think that you know, them playing off of each other, it I don't know. It seems like the conversation flowed and it worked.
Okay, now that's good. I'm glad that you like that. Now, what did you think of his look? Like again, I've seen controversy about it as far as like it's a lot of swelling, a lot of like just horrible disfigurement. Is that your Joker? Is that something that you want to see come out of the Joker character? Are you put off by it? Like, what do you think?
I don't mind it. I think it's just another, because I know there's many iterations of the Joker, so I know for this instance, like that's the Joker that they wanted to portray. So I am okay with this Joker.
Oh, you mean you didn't want him to have damage written on his forehead? You didn't want that?
No, not this time around. If I could avoid it.
If you could avoid it. All right, fair enough. So, okay, so Adam's in favor of it. Cool. John, how about you, man? What do you think of this Joker? For someone who saw the Batman movie too, so now you have some context for it.
I like this Joker. I thought that, I mean, I can understand why this scene was deleted in a way,
okay,
and not put out there, but I also think that by getting leaked out there now, it almost makes it more intense and more people want to go back and watch the Batman again.
Right.
So I think in a way it helped their movie sales too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also makes you look forward to what's coming up. Because I think the Joker is you could portray the Joker in so many different ways. I think that everybody has their own Joker, and every director is going to have their own way that they want to work with the Joker character or create them. But I think this Joker works like very well with Batman and everything going on.
Okay.
Now his face really doesn't bother me as much. Like,
okay, so
it's kind of one of those things
right.
that I'm kind of just like, I guess maybe I don't pay enough attention to it, but or don't care enough about it. But like, it's just some people got to get over themselves.
All right. So you're okay with the look. You like the way you like his like horrible, gruesome kind of face. You know, you're not appalled to it.
No.
You mentioned that you can see why they cut it. What is your opinion as to why they cut the scene? I'm curious to think. What do you think? I mean, we don't know. I have my reasons too. Maybe why it was cut. What do you think was the reason though?
I think it was cut because I don't think it would have added more to the storyline.
Right.
And then I think more people would, if you put that in wherever they put it in, I feel like people would start wondering more about the Joker then instead of the whole movie as a whole then, you know? It would be like...
That's a good point.
And also it would make it a lot longer than it was, and people were already mad about the length of it, and it could have been like...
Yeah.
On another 20 minutes or something. 15,
yeah.
They would have been like,
yes.
Oh my God, I can't sit there.
Yeah, even if that scene was about 5 minutes long, another 5 minutes, that movie didn't need another 5 minutes. I hate to say it. There was definitely, especially on a second viewing for me, it was really long. You know, I could have used a break. Julie, you liked the Joker, right?
I do.
She loves Jared Leto's Joker.
Oh no.
Sorry, I got to keep roasting Jared Leto's. I mean, I don't think that. Let me get this clear. Let me get this clear before we go far. I don't think Jared Leto was a terrible Joker. All right, everyone's like seems to be on that opinion. I don't think he was bad. It was different. It wasn't my favorite, like version of the character. Suicide Squad had a lot of issues that made that worse than I think than what we initially saw. If you look at the extended cut of Suicide Squad with some of the extra Joker scenes, there's a lot more context added to the character. And Jared Leto, as much as I don't like him as a person, he's a good actor. He can bring something a little different to the role, and I think it could have been interesting. It's just totally mishandled. Gonna move on from that, but back to what I was saying. Julie, what did you think? Now, as someone who also saw the movie, I know you were interested, especially this actor. We just saw him in Eternals. He was just in. What do you think? What do you think of the casting, the look, everything?
I'm really happy with the casting. Again, we saw him in Eternals, and he was, I guess, one of the smaller characters in the film. I feel like they didn't really focus on his character. I was the most interested in his character, though, in Eternals. I thought he had the coolest power. So I was surprised, but also really happy with the casting. I think he really nailed it. Some people make comparisons like, oh, his laugh's a little bit too much like Heath Ledger's. I could see glimpses of it, but I think he's really making it his own. The interaction between him and Batman is fantastic. You could just see him really relishing in the mystery and the chaos and the fact that, Batman's even coming to him for anything. So I'm happy with the performance. I'm really curious to see it, further fleshed out. The look, I'm torn. It's grotesque. That's the point. When you look at him, it's definitely unsettling, but he's an unsettling character. There's one thing I was telling Kevin earlier, and I kind of can't get it out of my mind. He has these like face wrinkles, I think, that are supposed to, elongate the smile. But I can't stop thinking about Jim Carrey's The Grinch, because he has the same, because it's like 3 or 4 of them, those like smile lines. And I just think of The Grinch every time I see it. But yeah, definitely a very different, visual take on the character. I know there's been comparisons made with comic book counterparts. It's a different look, and I'm fine with it. It's definitely, as I look at him like, oh my God, he's fucking ugly, but that's the point. He's inside and out. So I'm excited. I agree with John. Like, I'm glad that it wasn't in the movie. It would have taken away. It was Batman and the Riddler story. And then when you throw in the Joker, he's, the clown prince of crime. He's going to draw more attention away from the story that's being told.
Right, and I'll touch on that first. My feeling is it's definitely cut because it wasn't necessary. I think like everyone kind of said here, it would draw away from the main story, especially when you have the Joker on screen, you're automatically looking at the Joker, which is why I think they saved him towards the end of the movie, just in a brief glimpse. Also, I think the look hasn't been finalized to some extent, so I think that's part of it. Because in the movie, and even in this like little snippet, we don't get a clear look at the character. So, we have little glimpses, but we don't see everything in full vision. We don't know the circumstances or anything like that. My biggest thing, which I really appreciate Matt Reeves for doing, the director, I think it's cut out mostly because it tells you the plot, essentially. Like, in the movie, they don't really go into why people are doing certain things, why the Riddler is committing these crimes. It's never blatantly said to you. In this, the Joker's literally telling you this is exactly why A and B is happening, because he's crazy, because he's, he wants to be like you. He sympathizes with, like, he's kind of spelling it out, essentially. And Batman's supposed to figure it out. I think it's more powerful for Batman to figure out what's going on in the movie than to go to one source and be like, hey, this is everything that's going on. You're welcome. We don't need that. We also don't need the Hannibal Lecter comparison either, I don't think.
Yeah, and I will kind of jumping into it, trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, talking about the scene. Like, he's going to the Joker for a reason, meaning that they've had a previous encounter. And the fact that this is still a very young Batman, I think he says he's been doing it 2 years. I don't know how I feel about him already have interacted with the Joker at some point before we meet him so early in his career, for that being such a top villain. I don't know. More will tell eventually. Time will tell.
I actually think that
I'm torn.
I think it's fine. Actually, I'm not really. I know you. I don't really need to see their first ever meeting and to know these two characters have a history. Kind of like the whole movie does. Again, without spoilers, it kind of just jumps into it. Like Batman's been doing this for 2 years. He's not super experienced. He's not under experienced. He's like right in the middle. He's kind of still getting his feet wet. As far as things. So for him to have met the Joker, had like a beef with him, and gone toe to toe. I really like this. I like how they play up the whole romantic relationship between the two. It's always questionable. I think it adds more to that disturbing like factor that the Joker always has, because he feels like he has this like deep love connection to Batman. Whether or not he means it is a whole nother situation, but the fact is it's always unsettling coming from such a creepy character, where he's like, oh, it's our anniversary, it's the paper anniversary, it's already a year, look at us, we're together. I like that a lot, and I think not having to see in the past, I get enough out of these characters. Even in that one interaction, which I think is very well acted, you can kind of see like Batman hates him, and the Joker hates him, but loves that. There's still like a weird connection, which I've always loved. I think that's always undersold a lot, especially in the movies. Not so much in the comics. I think the comics have done an excellent job with that. But as far as the movies, it's like there's something deeper there. There's such a strong connection between these two opposing characters.
Yeah. Like the symbiotic relationship, they need each other.
Right, exactly. It's such a strong relationship. Again, and as far as his look, my personal favorite Joker in recent years was, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Scott Snyder Joker, where his face was cut off and he has it like strapped onto his head. There's in the comics, the Joker cuts off his face. I stay with me here. I know I'm losing people already with this. He cuts off his face and like leaves it behind, and everyone's like, "What happened to the Joker? Where did he go?" Someone probably murdered him, left his face, and eventually it comes back to this great story called "Death of the Family," where the Joker he takes his face, he like puts it back on, kind of. It's like loose and rotting, and it's really gross. But he goes after the whole Bat family and tries to make an example. And kind of does this storyline like I was talking about, where he tries to prove like him and Batman are meant to be together. And he's always known who Batman is, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect him. He doesn't care. Like, you know what I mean? I like that story. I think there's inspiration taken from that. I've seen a couple sources of different comics. I'm sure if you go around, you can see like different ways they've taken from it. Arkham Asylum, for those familiar with the video games, that Joker seems to be a big inspiration for this character. Arkham in general seemed like a big inspiration for the movie, which is really cool, actually. It's nice to see video games getting a little bit of a shine here in cinema. What do I think, though? I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm glad it wasn't in the movie, like you said. It would have taken away too much time. But the Joker is such an important character in Batman mythology. I've seen people say, like, oh, you're doing the Joker again? Oh, no, here it comes. Like, it's the typical cycle of the internet, which I hate. Astoundingly, I really hate that cycle. I want another Joker. Why would I not want the Joker? What the hell is wrong with you people? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I want to see that character. Is everyone else, like, in agreement on that? Am I the only one? Like,
yeah.
I hate that mentality that we have sometimes with movies. Like, what the hell?
It's the thing with Batman and the Joker, they're peanut butter and jelly. They go together. You really can't have one without the other. So, and he's kind of alone. Superman has his villains. It's not, if you don't see one of Superman's villains, you're fine. You're not devastated. But with Batman, you have to have the Joker at some point. It's inevitable. And the two are just so closely linked. I would be disappointed if there was no Joker.
How about you, Adam? Are you like upset that we're getting another Joker? Are you annoyed about it? You're gonna go keyboard warrior on me and start spamming the internet?
I'm not. Like I said, that's the story that they want to tell. I usually just take movies as I'm given. And if I was to ever create a movie, then I would tell my own story.
Thank you. And yeah. I think so, Adam, I'm coming to you. I'm Warner Brothers right now. I'm gonna say, all right, Adam, I want you to make the best Batman story you can, whatever you want, but. And you're going to be like, well, why wouldn't I use the Joker, right?
I mean, it's
like,
iconic.
Why would you not?
It's like the first villain I think of when I think of Batman.
Yeah, like just tell your story, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
How about you, John? You going to not use the Joker in your movie? You going to make something different? He's gonna go Mr. Scarface, the little puppet, and he's gonna make a movie about that guy, which could be interesting. Hey, you listen to me. That might work out, but whatever.
See that? Now you're giving away $1 million ideas.
$1 million ideas, man. There's a rogues gallery. Batman has one of the most interesting rogue galleries when it comes to villains. Maybe even more so interesting than the character. I've seen so many like people talk about that, which that could be its video in its own maybe someday, just talking about all the villains. Spider-Man's like that too. Spider-Man's rogue gallery is huge. It's funny to even see Spider-Man because like everyone's like, oh, who are these other Marvel villains? I mean, maybe outside of the X-Men have some like pretty notable villains. Most of the Marvel characters are kind of like lackluster with their villains. I mean, Spider-Man kind of tangled with everybody at some point. Like he tangles with like the Kingpin on the streets who fought with everybody. Then he's tangling with Thanos in outer space who's fighting all those. Like who hasn't Spider-Man like squared off with at some point? It's always very interesting to see. Was this a good idea to release this scene? We'll see. That kind of actually goes into my next topic. Morbius is terrible. Apparently, to nobody's surprise. I haven't seen it. Let's disclaimer here. I've heard nothing but terrible things. It seems like it's going the 2000s route, like the Daredevil of 2000, the well, I guess what Blade I think was in 2000. Like all those, you know what I'm talking about. If you lived through it, we were there. The Punisher, those movies. It's not good. But this made it even worse. Something we actually ironically talked about in one of our previous videos was showing too much in your trailer. I think, and we joked around saying like I'm pretty sure that scene of Morbius jumping off the roof is going to be like in the end of the movie, and they're going to play some like grungy 2000s rock song while he flies off into the air. Maybe we didn't get that. I didn't see the movie. We did get though was the end credits have been completely spoiled, not by just a leak, but by the director himself in an interview. Actually went on the record and started talking about the movie, saying exactly what's going on. So what I want to just talk about is Cinema Blend was actually talking with the director. And what happened was they asked, the first question that was asked was, what universe does Morbius take place in? Right? So that is a big question because there's so much going on with all the multiverse factors and everything going on now. They said the director said, Morbius lives in the same universe as Venom. This is the universe we saw Venom exit at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and return to at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. Okay, that's fine. I think that's fair to say, right? I don't think anyone has like an issue with that, him saying that. But then he goes into, at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, in Spider-Man No Way Home, and in No Way Home itself, it is clearly established that it's possible for characters to transfer from one multiverse to another. The events of No Way Home had the effect of transferring Venom and the Vulture, and maybe others, back and forth between the MCU and the Venom universe. Okay. So we're getting even more here. And then they go into spoilers, pretty much saying that they asked him what's going on here, saying that the Vulture got transferred into the Morbius universe, which is the Venom universe, which doesn't make sense. I know we're going to have a whole conversation on this. The Vulture gets transferred there, and he has his suit, and he like finds Morbius and says, "Hey, let's go get this Spider-Man kid. I have an issue with him." What's going on? Why are we spoiling that? Like that's literally the end credits of the whole movie. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you care? Does anyone care? Adam, do you care? Like let's go. What are your thoughts on this? I have some theories as to why this is happening. What do you think of this revelation now that we're getting?
I think in a way we have to care because I don't want them to mess up the MCU at all.
Right.
Because obviously the Vulture, he was in the MCU at some point.
Right.
So now they're linking it to whatever kind of universe they're setting up. So somehow, some way it's going to link to it, but I just don't want it to mess it up at all. At least make it any more chaotic than it already is.
Right. Because he was in Spider-Man Homecoming. We had the Vulture, and now suddenly why is he... Okay, so the spell, from what I gather, from us who have watched the Spider-Man film, know that the spell was anyone who knew Peter Parker was brought to that universe.
Right.
Where that Peter Parker is. So why is the Vulture going to another universe?
Maybe everybody in the current in Tom Holland's universe that knows Peter Parker would have gotten expelled to like another universe, like it did a reverse spell on them.
He's really reaching here, man. He's really going for it. How about you, Julie? Go ahead. What are you thinking?
Well, if he has his suit, he's in jail. Why would he have his suit with him when he goes to the Venom universe? That's a nitpick,
which is
but
no, that's a good point, because in the scene, which is in the trailer, he addresses Morbius as like not the Vulture, and then suddenly he has his suit out of nowhere at the end of the movie. Did he just like make an identical suit somewhere along the line? He didn't
from what
carry it
I
with him
can
from prison.
recall of the trailer, it looks like he's wearing like a prison jumpsuit.
That was
At least,
right. So the
right?
thing.
So then, how does he have a suit? Unless they kept it in an evidence locker, and maybe he breaks out and gets it. I don't know.
Oh, so
But
the evidence locker like transferred the universes with him. They're like, oh hey, let me bring
maybe,
that.
yeah, that's a whole. Maybe the whole prison. Maybe that whole prison got lifted up and brought to the Venom universe. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because really, what the spell was supposed to do was everyone's going to forget Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and we're just going to seal up all these openings so no one else can come in. There was nothing about and the people that were there that weren't supposed to be there go home. But the Vulture's supposed to be in Tom Holland's universe. He wasn't coming through any portal, so why would he magically just be
and it's
drafted
funny,
to the other side?
I hate spoilers, but I don't consider this spoilers because it was in your trailer. So you're giving us all of this. I'm sorry. I hate to say that, but it is what it is. I think this is really confusing for people. I think this is going to make it more confusing than it needs to be. Now, John, you look like you're a little confused, and I can't say I blame you with what's going on here. What do you think? Is this like a lot going on? Now we have different universes going on. We have a lot. It was easy to see like one transfer, one from the other. But if you're going to have characters jumping around all these different timelines, isn't that going to lose people over time?
Well, first thing I want to say is I want to thank this director for ruining this whole movie for me so I don't have to spend 2 hours to watch it. Second of all, yeah, when you were just talking now, I was so confused that I don't think like, unless you're a diehard fan of like the Marvel universe and you know all of this stuff,
right?
I feel like you're going to be confused. So the fact that they bring in, say, 8,000 multiverses and this and that, it's just going to confuse people even more. And then it almost opens the door for them to internally get criticized from other people who like love this stuff like it's their job and they go by every rule that there is.
Right.
So that in turn leads directors to, hey, you have to do this certain stuff and then make it a certain way, and then that eliminates half of the people per se.
No, it's confusing. I think it's confusing even as someone who knows what he's talking about to an extent. It doesn't make much sense, especially when you have a multiverse angle like this. You have to have a set of guidelines that this follows, a very important rule set that just can't be broken just because you want to. So, what is Kevin's theory on this? Well, I think Sony wants to make their own universe. I think more of this has to do with money than it has to do with anything with setting fans going forward. The first thing is the big thing that was taken away from this is they don't say who the Spider-Man is of Venom's universe. Based on what we've seen, especially at the end credits of Venom and, Spider-Man No Way Home, from what we can tell, there was no Spider-Man, right? Is everyone kind of like under that assumption? Like there was, especially at the end credits of Venom, he's just like licking the TV screen when he transfers going, oh, you look interesting. Not saying if there was a Spider-Man or not established in this universe. Fast forward to Morbius now. We have a picture of Spider-Man with murderer written on it. So does Spider-Man exist in that universe? Right? Is it?
I've heard that mural was taken out of the film.
That's what I've heard too. And then that wasn't confirmed in this interview, but that's what I've heard as well. That's actually something I was going to go into. What does that mean? I don't know. I would like to think it was maybe Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man to some extent. Maybe it was like the potential rumored. He would make the most sense, especially based on what he said in the past Spider-Man film where he went like a darker turn and started like kind of going out. But again, if it's taken out of the film, I think there's an ulterior motive to Sony. I think what they're going to do is they're going to amass what they can because they own these characters. A lot of people don't seem to understand. The rights are a huge issue with this. Anything that's in the Spider-Man movies is owned by Sony. It's so stupid and confusing for no reason whatsoever. Just because agreed this exists, but they own all those characters. They own the Vulture, they own the Electro, the Lizard, anybody, Doc Ock, all of them that show up are owned by Sony. So what they're doing is saying, all right, Marvel, we're going to lend you our toys, but we want to bring them back to our toy box and do something else with them. Now, Tom Holland seems to be like the shaky ground as far as what I understand with the characters. They own Spider-Man, but maybe not necessarily Tom Holland's Spider-Man, from what I understand. So my viewpoint is they're setting up their own universe, right? They're eventually going to say, all right, you can keep Tom Holland and do what you have to do, but we're going to create our own Spider-Man. That way we can make our own movies and do our own thing. To me, that seems to be what they're doing. Part of me leans either. I don't think it's going to be Andrew Garfield. I don't know if anyone else feels like he's going to get a second chance. I don't see it happening, really, at this point. I think they want to move on from that. The only reason I think maybe Andrew Garfield has even a potential choice is that the Sinister Six was teased at the end of that Spider-Man, but who really cares and who really remembers that? I don't think anyone does. It was a weird movie anyway. That was a mess, too. But I think what they're going to do is a new Spider-Man's going to come. I'm actually leaning towards Miles Morales. I think is going to be their Spider-Man. I could see that happening before anything else. I think they're going to capitalize on Into the Spider-Verse, again, owned by Sony because they own everything Spider-Man, which is the best Spider-Man thing they've done was Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know. What do you guys think? And this is also going to bleed into what I really want to talk about too, is what are some Marvel theories you guys have going on? Because the multiverse is getting weird. It's getting confusing, especially with this wrinkle. It came in perfectly because this is the conversation I actually really wanted to have with you guys. Adam, what are some of your thoughts? Well, talk a little bit about Spider-Man, and then give me a little bit of what you think's going on with the MCU. Where do you see things heading? Like, what are you thinking? What do you have?
I do not want them to mess up Miles Morales. I think he is such a cool character.
Agreed.
I really hope that's not the direction they're going to go. I didn't even think of that as being a possibility. So,
oh no,
great.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. All good. I mean, in terms of, who knows? Maybe it's just going to be another Spider-Man that they're just going to come out with. Just a whole new.
It's a brand new one.
Yeah, just throw another one into the multiverse. I mean, why not?
Right.
In terms of the MCU, I don't know. It's getting very chaotic, and I honestly have very high hopes for the Doctor Strange movie.
I do too. Yeah.
I just want it to be really good. I just want to see some crazy stuff happen. That's really what I want to see.
Now, let's go into that. So, let's talk a little bit about that then too. How about cameos? Now, are you open to any and all MCU cameos from the past to present to everything? Or is there any characters you're looking forward to maybe seeing? That was always the rumor, I think, with this Doctor Strange movie. Is there's a lot of cameos about bringing that multiverse together. Is there any characters you're looking forward to seeing from other Marvel movies? Or
if they really want to blow my mind,
blow your mind, I'm ready.
Bring back Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider.
I knew it. Why did I know that was going to happen?
I love that movie. I love the first one was good, but I love that. And if they really want to blow my mind, bring him back.
Hey, second Ghost Rider had some stuff to it.
It has moments. Yes, I will agree.
I will say, I'm not going on a tangent here. That Ghost Rider is better. The character of Ghost Rider is better in the second movie, but the first one's still like a little bit of a better movie. I think Ghost Rider's scarier in the second movie. He has like the Michael Myers walk, and he does like the head twitch and stuff like that. Very cool.
I agree.
Terrible movie though. Oh my god, that's another thing. We really got to talk about that. Anyone else though? How about any other like deep cuts? Like for me, would be the Punisher. And I'm not talking. I'm talking about Dolph Lundgren Punisher. Let's really go back here. Let's go back.
Wow, okay.
I'll reach back. I want to see that. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, really, like any kinds of. It's open to whoever at this point. I mean, I would love to see Hugh Jackman.
I think that's on
I'm sure a lot of people.
List. Yeah. I don't know how that could not be. Now, as far as Doctor Strange, there's one character that may be confirmed based on the trailer. It seems like Patrick Stewart is like the confirmed character. What he's attached to, I'm not going to go into details about because that is spoilers. That could lead to other characters being attached. But I think that's interesting. Patrick Stewart is Professor X to me. You know, I thought James McAvoy always did a good job, but I think Patrick Stewart is like perfect, especially hearing his voice and everything. I think that's really interesting. Maybe that's how we're getting X-Men brought into the universe. Because that movie is slated, I believe, right? I think there is an X-Men slated at some point, so that's interesting. Julie, how about you? What are you excited for?
Well, that since you brought up the X-Men connection, Evan Peters as Quicksilver, because they did us so dirty in WandaVision. I'm very angry about it still. So I would love to see him like officially come back into the fold, because it's going to go off on a tangent, but the fact that they're like, oh, well, we didn't mean to like, make you think that it was him. Of course you did. Like, how else did you expect us to interpret that? So I would love to, and I just thought of that now when you brought up X-Men. So I would love to see him come back. Nick Cage's Ghost Rider. That's a good cut, deep cut. That'd be kind of funny. I would like to see, and not necessarily like the old versions of it, just maybe new interpretations of the Fantastic Four. That's always been like, I know the movies aren't great, but those were some of the first superhero movies I saw as a kid after Spider-Man, and I loved the Fantastic Four movies as a kid. So I would really like to see those characters come back to the big screen. So hopefully, maybe we'll get one or two members of the family make an appearance. So I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I made it no secret. The Fantastic Four is one of my favorite superhero like character groups of all time. I love the Fantastic Four. Why the hell we can't get something that's actually good out of the Fantastic Four? It blows my mind. Some of the stories they tell are just the most interesting. I love the family dynamic. It's interesting too because I think Disney really wants to emulate that family dynamic, especially what we've seen with the Avengers. Just about every Marvel movie, there's a sit-down dinner scene of like a family. What's better than having an actual family? The Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family. That's what we need. I love that story. I mean, you have Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom, one of the greatest villains of all time. Never really represented except from the guy from Nip Tuck was the villain who played Doctor Doom. And I think there was some other guy too, which I didn't watch Fan Four Stick, that really terrible one. I stayed away from that, not watching that garbage. Sorry guys, not going to do it. Maybe, you know what? I tell you what, get me to 100 likes and I'll do a review of Fan Four Stick and I'll watch it and I'll tell you everything I hate about it. Maybe. I'm going to throw it out there, throwing a goal. But I'm excited for that character. John, how about you? Are you excited for any kind of cameos, maybe, as far as, what's going on? Anything you want to see? Some old people brought back to life?
Yeah, I want to see Howard the Duck appear.
What? So, get out of here.
Hey, Howard
this
the
guy.
Duck.
That's a deep cut. Are you talking about OG Howard Duck? Not that new Howard the Duck. You want OG Howard the Duck.
OG Howard the Duck. Way back then. And then maybe bring back old Captain America.
Oh, well, who was that played the original one? Right? There was a guy. I can't remember his name.
I
can't
bring
remember
those back. Then
That's a good
cutting
one.
It deep.
I was like, I think Into the Spider-Verse is another interesting one where they're bringing back a lot of like famous people that play characters. One of the rumors was that 90s animated Spider-Man. I love that guy. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. The voice actor that did him was fantastic. Best one, though, that I think is confirmed is they're bringing back Japanese Spider-Man, which I think is the best Spider-Man of all time. There's a documentary on Disney Plus that you guys really need to check out that talks about the whole like Japanese phenomenon with Spider-Man. He's not what you think. All right, I'm gonna say he has a Megazord. That's a random robot. He's a Power Ranger, and people die in that series. That's a crazy series. That has.
Does he come from the Transformers too?
Apparently, I don't know. Japanese Spider-Man is no joke. Okay, he's probably the best Spider-Man, hands down. But what I also want to talk about too is, like I said, I want to talk about theories. So, what direction are we going into? Do you think the multiverse is gonna last, guys? Do you think we're just gonna like kind of like go back on like a normal path at some point again? Do you think everything's kind of just like reconnect again? Like, a good example is like Loki kind of represents like the timeline like splintering, right? Everything's kind of like going crazy, falling apart. Do you think eventually we're going to get one unified timeline back again to where because I think my biggest thing was, and I've said this multiple times when we've talked about this, is and we've said it even in this review, this discussion, is that the multiverse is very confusing. And when you're a comic book fan and comic books start to do that, it's always a sign that the storylines are losing steam. And I don't think Marvel's at that point yet. I feel like we kind of jumped the gun a little bit with some of this stuff where they just want to give you everything in like high bursts and see what happens. I don't think we're there yet. And I want to see personally everything kind of level out and have one contained universe where I don't have to worry about characters jumping from other cinematic universes and other timelines. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think? I want everything kind of to eventually converge back. And do you think that's going to happen anytime soon?
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think that this is like the next, as Endgame was like the culminating event of like the first half of the Marvel universe. I think the multiverse now is like the second act, because I feel like they're trying to establish Kang as that huge Thanos like villain. So they introduced him in Loki. He's going to be, or one of him is going to be the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Is that what that one's called? So, I mean, I don't think it's going to go on for as long as like the whole Thanos saga went. Because really, if you think about it, that's from like, the beginning of the MCU to Endgame. That was the Thanos saga because there was hints of him in every Avengers movie. I hope that it won't go on as long, but I think they're really going to try and take this opportunity to bring in all the properties that they want to. They're going to use the multiverse to do that. Ideally, if they do it, Fantastic Four, X-Men, all these other properties. And then once they save the day and have one timeline, then they can now, further explore the not new, but the properties that they've acquired and start to tell those stories and hopefully be on a more level playing ground. That's just my thought.
Right. And, it's funny. This is going to be the second wrestling reference in this podcast, but there's something called the Forbidden Door that's been referenced in wrestling where someone goes from like one promotion to go to another. The Forbidden Door has been opened in Marvel, right? We're seeing people cross over from other stories, other timelines, other universes. Adam, now that this so-called Forbidden Door has been opened, can it be shut? Now that we've seen it happen, what do you think can we shut it now?
I do think so. I honestly, because I think now is just kind of a very iffy time because they obviously want to use these characters. So they're like, let's just get them in somehow. Let's figure out a way. And then once they're here, we'll kind of, go into their own storylines because, everybody, they're not all going to appear in each other's movies at some point, I feel.
Right.
They can't just do that. Everybody's got their own stories. So I feel like at some point it will plateau.
Right.
It's going to be a rocky situation on, getting there.
It almost feels like Disney's kind of like, okay, you want your Wolverine? Here you go. Here's your Wolverine. All right,
Yes.
Get over it. Now here's our Wolverine. Like
Yes.
I don't know if that's the vibe anyone's getting. I kind of get that to some extent. Like Spider-Man's a good example. I feel like oh, here, you like those Spider-Man? Here you go. This is what they look like. Okay, they're gone now. This is the real one though. So don't worry about it. Move on. You wonder, right? You wonder if that's like part of the whole marketing, like making you forget about a character and move on. Kind of like, I wonder if we're going to see something like, I know Captain America's a big rumor right now. I know we have the Falcon now as Captain America. He's our quote unquote Captain America. I didn't finish the animated Marvel show. I'm sorry, What If, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't finish that. But Captain Carter is rumored to be making a live action appearance in some respect. We're kind of seeing that with Doctor Strange already. We're seeing the Doctor Strange from that universe making an appearance in the Multiverse of Madness. Makes you wonder, right? Maybe Captain Carter is going to be like the new Captain America. It's interesting to see what they're trying to do here because we're going to run into that problem. Thor's another one. I think at this point, I don't know how much time Chris Hemsworth has with his contract or if he even wants to continue. But now we have Natalie Portman kind of stepping up as Lady Thor. Is that going to be the replacement character? Who's to say? Lady Thor is an interesting character. I actually do like her from the comics. I think she's kind of cool. Taika Waititi's an awesome director, though, too. So, that gives me all the confidence in the world.
Because Chris Evans his contract is up. Does that mean he can come back as the Human Torch?
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I think they have an opportunity too to have some fun with some of the cameos. I know Tom Cruise has been rumored to be lingering around the MCU, either as a new character or as an old character. I've always heard the joke he's been rumored to like look like Robert Downey, like Tom Cruise would have been the perfect Iron Man at some point, like that cocky, egotistical guy. I could see that. Maybe have some fun. John Krasinski, from The Office fame, he's always been fan casted as Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. People have been wanting that, him and his wife Emily Blunt, to be Mrs. Fantastic. Imagine that. Just have some fun too. Like, I don't need these people to be those characters. Have a little fun though too. I mean, this is a good opportunity. I think the multiverse brings a lot of that. And Marvel going forward is, it's really interesting to see what they do, especially with a lot of the shows that are on the horizon. We have Moon Knight, which I think we're going to talk about probably next podcast. We'll have some information on Moon Knight. We'll have a couple episodes to chew into. We have She-Hulk is another series. That's interesting. I don't know how that's going to work, really. I'm curious to see how the courtroom turns to the Hulk. That'll be kind of cool. There's a lot of stuff coming up. John, you have any kind of closing thoughts on this whole thing? What are you looking forward to? You have any theories of what's going to happen next?
I mean, I think that it really all is going to come down to, like, the money. Yeah. How much money can they make with what they have? Especially since there's so many different comic books about each of these characters out there. There's so many films that they still have that they could make if they wanted to. But right now, I feel like they're just trying to throw everyone together, and then they'll separate them and put them back into, like, their origins,
Right.
How they did with, like, a lot of these characters, where they bring them all together just for, like, the fanfare, and then they go, all right, well, now we're going to tell you their original story and how this all could have came together.
Yeah, it's interesting how Marvel's just created such an ecosystem that I think a lot of us, we don't give it enough credit a lot of the time. Like, I always say, like, oh, I wish we had a standalone movie and not have all these characters. But the achievement that's really been made here to connect so many movies and TV shows that you can see how they connect. Sometimes it isn't always the cleanest, but it still works, right? As far as an ecosystem, like, if you really watch it from beginning to end and you watch and consume everything, it connects. It does work, which is astounding. It's such a feat. I can't wait to see what happened next with Marvel. Is it fizzling out a little bit for me? I'm getting a little burnt out. I said that at the end after Endgame, I was kind of burnt out from Marvel and was interested in the next direction. I think DC might have an opportunity to fill in some of that niche now, where they can just tell, like with the Batman, for example, they can just tell this one centric story that's really good and then move on to the next and not have to watch 30 movies to be connected with everything. But it's good that people have an option too. It's good you can watch maybe a whole series of things and enjoy it, or maybe just watch one solo thing and have a good time. It's a great time to be a comic book fan and a movie fan, if you ask me. What more could you really ask for? Let's talk about something that people are a little bit upset about, and I'm upset, but not maybe as much as anything. But we're going into our favorite thing. We're going to talk about some trailers now, guys. Miss Marvel, since we're on the whole Marvel conversation here, it's come out that we've gotten the trailer for Miss Marvel. Now, Julie, you're a big Kamala Khan fan. You actually read a lot of her. You read more of her comics than I have. I know some of her stuff. What are your thoughts on this trailer? Now, from what I'm gathering, it's not as faithful as what a lot of people are saying she is to the character in the comic. They've changed her powers, and there's a bunch of shenanigans. But before we get into more of that, let's just talk about, what did you think of the trailer? What did you like the vibe coming from it? What did you think?
I do love the energy coming off of the trailer. I know the big controversy is her change in power. She did have a more Mr. Fantastic-like ability where she was able to stretch her limbs, do super punches and stuff like that. And this seems to be a more like energy-based power where she can, create, I don't know, energy blasts and constructs.
It's kind of like Green Lantern.
Yeah.
She essentially has Green Lantern's power.
Right.
But now it's cool.
And Kevin and I were talking about it earlier where, it could be a budget thing. They might want to avoid the connection to Mr. Fantastic. But that controversy aside, I really am actually excited for this. I think I like the energy. Trailers, take it with a grain of salt, but I think it really is encompassing like the teenage energy, which is what she was. She idolized the heroes of her universe, especially, Captain Marvel. And I definitely get that energy from her. I love, the diversity, the fact that they're choosing this character, and that seems to be they're incorporating those elements of the story into the show. The societal pressures from her family, being a teenager in high school, and also acquiring these powers. We'll see. It's a lot to take on in a show, especially, with them changing her powers and stuff like that. But I am excited for this. It seems fun, seems, cute, a little different than what we've been getting with Marvel. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a little lighter for sure. Now, Adam, what do you think? Now, for someone, I don't know, do you have any experience with the Miss Marvel character at all, or?
Not really. I mean,
No.
just from things that I've seen, because I know I've seen the clips from. I never played the Avengers game, the one that had come out, but
yeah.
I've seen the clips. It's just because I like to watch some cutscenes of games that I probably won't ever play, but I've seen some stuff from her in there, and I enjoy her character. I know that. I'm excited for this one. I'm a little torn about the difference in the power change,
Yeah, I am
ability
too.
change. I don't know if I hate it yet. I'll have to wait until we actually see it, because just because it's different doesn't mean it's going to be bad.
Right. I think that's
But
something we have to remember too. Which, unfortunately, fans of the internet, they don't understand what that means. They just say,
Right,
let's
yeah,
hate everything before we get to see it. I personally don't like it. I think to some extent it invalidates some of the more interesting aspects of like the body change aspect of the character, which I think is very cool and unique. I mean, we've seen constructs before. You don't really see a girl that can stretch and put into weird situations and stuff like that. We don't really get something like that. Like Julie alluded to, I think a lot of it really had to do with the Mr. Fantastic comparison, especially since Fantastic Four will be coming at some point to the MCU. They don't want to say, oh, she's just the female Mr. Fantastic. They want to avoid that. I also think budget is a big thing. You know how much it is to CGI a human person to make them stretch all around and do all these things and make it look good. Marvel CGI is very hit or miss. Adam, I know we've talked about Shang-Chi.
yeah,
That could be oofa. Yeah, not a good time, guys. Not a good time. But we'll see what happens. Like Julie and Adam said. John, what do you think? You excited for Miss Marvel? You gonna be watching that?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm not really sold on it, but
No.
I mean, it looks okay.
Yeah, I think it has like that fun like high school girl mentality. I mean, I'm not a high school girl, so I guess I don't know how much I'm going to relate to it, but I think for its target audience, I think it's got something there. Would you say? I think it has.
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it doesn't look terrible to me. It just
Yeah.
wasn't like it's not like on the top of my list, but I'll definitely get to it.
You know what it seems like, and I think I'll see if you agree. I think it's like one of those like Disney live action shows, right? Like one of those like maybe like just Marvel-fied. Is that what it feels like a little bit?
It's almost like it's like you know how back in the day they used to have those movies that would go straight to like on TV movies,
Yeah, right.
Like on the Disney Channel, like you have to tune in at Friday at 8:00 or something like that.
It's the Disney
Seems like one of
Channel
those
movie
movies.
event.
Yeah.
Sweet Life, Zach
the
and Cody.
DComs.
Yeah,
the DComs.
Yes.
It's interesting. I don't know. I think that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this, which is fun. Yeah, I'm glad
You know
Disney's
what?
doing that.
It's like Disney Channel, and then plus that like whole Riverdale, Sabrina vibes I'm getting. Like a combination of the two, I feel like.
Riverdale's something I do want to watch at some point. I've heard nothing but like batshit crazy things about that show. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. But Miss Marvel, we'll see what happens. We got some time. We got Moon Knight to get through first, which is more my cup of tea. So I can't wait to talk about that again. Probably next episode you'll be hearing about that from us. Going into something else, Adam, I'm gonna let you talk about this one because what do you think of the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent trailer? Nicolas Cage is back playing maybe his most iconic character to date in cinematic history. I know we've said Ghost Rider. I know he's been in movies like The Rock, National Treasure, but never has Nicolas Cage been the most important character in his career himself.
Wow, what a great idea! I love it. I'm all for it. I will be in the theater to see this movie.
I think there's no other movie that we could possibly talk about. And I was telling Julie this, and I mean this with all the emotion in my heart that this is the most excited I've been in a movie for a long time. You could show me your Batmans, you could show me your Spider-Mans, any of those things. I want to see this movie. This is the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I don't know. The trailer just has me like giddy for some reason, and I'm like, I have to see that movie.
Yeah, because Nicolas Cage is one of those actors where there's always this bit mystery around who he is as a person. Now, there's some crazy stories out there. We've heard he's bought an island. Apparently, he bought a T-Rex skull or part of like a T-Rex, like a whole like fossilized T-Rex. He's had money issues, which are obviously he's buying all these things. Those are like a big thing. He had an issue of Superman #1 that was apparently stolen from him, and he hunted the people down to get it back, which that was supposed to be like a movie at some point. Again, he's just a really weird man. I mean, it's all addressed in just this trailer. I think they've addressed all of it from where he's like Nicolas Cage. He's like bowing his head and he's doing like the hand signs, but that's what he does in real life. That's not like a joke. That's actually how he acts, like in interviews and stuff like that. Whether maybe he's acting, I don't know. There's a fourth wall. I love when movies break. I think this is the best thing he could have ever done in his career. Where, there was an interview actually that just came out, and I liked how you brought up a Nicolas Cage B movie earlier, which I think is really funny. They asked him like, so you do a lot of bad movies, right? And they're like, obviously you're doing it for money, and he's like, no, I don't do it for money. I take on every role that I want because I want to take it, and I give it 100%. He said every movie role I've ever given, I give 100%. Now, whether or not you think that's true or he's full of shit is up to you. I kind of think it's true, man. I don't know. Nicolas Cage just really blows me away as a person. And he's a good actor. When he's on, Nicolas Cage can be a solid actor. But when he's off, it's awesome too because it's batshit insane. I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, every movie that he's ever in, he's the part that's like
he's
the
the
most
draw.
memorable.
He
yeah,
is the
absolutely.
draw of the movie.
Absolutely.
And there's so many good movies with Nicolas Cage. I mean, we could do a whole like good 30-40 movie list probably, which are be good, bad, and in between of just like his stuff. And I'll always watch it. There's a lot of things I haven't seen recently. I know Willy's Wonderland was a big movie. A lot of people, it's a horror movie that people have talked about. And Pig was another one where he plays like a guy who has like a pig and like they take his pig or something like that. It's like Taken with a Pig, apparently.
No, John Wick with a pig.
Oh, John Wick with a pig. That's even better. Whatever. That sounds awesome to me. Who cares? But again, anybody else you told me was in that, I'd be like, whatever. But you told me Nicolas Cage is in it, I need to see it. That's automatically what it is. Now, John, what do you think of this like weird line that's being drawn here? Do you like this idea of like you're taking the real life person of Nicolas Cage and putting him, so he's going to be Nicolas Cage, right? There's no question about that. And they're putting him in a fantastical situation. Do you like that idea for a movie? I think there's something intriguing about that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it definitely works with him as like a person too.
Right.
Like I think he definitely brings more to like this role than anything because he's just everything he acts in. It's just like over the top and just totally him in a way.
It's just this movie would only work with Nicolas Cage. I don't think it would work with like maybe another zany actor you could find, but the way this movie's being like promoted and like that trailer, this was actually, it's interesting too that I bring that up, this was the Red Band trailer that we watched. If you can find it, again, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent's the name of the movie. Try to find the Red Band trailer. It's distinctly different than the other one because it cuts out a lot of the punchlines of the jokes, and I feel like it doesn't hit as hard. You need that rated R context to it. Julie, now, you're not a huge Nicolas Cage fan from the stuff we watched, but maybe decent. I would say. I feel like you don't go out of your way. I would go out of my way for Nicolas Cage. You not so much. But what did you think of the trailer? I'm curious. We didn't really talk about what you thought of it.
I think it's hysterical. I do like Nicolas Cage movies. I don't seek them out, and some of them they're so bad that they're good. Like The Wicker Man. I remember seeing that movie in theaters, actually.
Oh, my eyes,
Yeah.
the bees.
Yeah.
My eyes.
I paid money to see that movie in theaters.
That's why I married her, ladies and gentlemen.
I think this movie's just taking like every crazy thing you've heard about him, whether it's true or not, and throwing it at the wall, and it's sticking. Like, we talked about his money issues, and in the trailer, he's looking at this grotesque like wax creation of himself. And he even says, "That's grotesque. I'll pay you $20,000 for it." Like he would do that. I believe he would do that. Pedro Pascal is in it. I love Pedro Pascal. Just the zaniness that is going to happen in this movie. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be hysterical. It's so self-aware. So the fact that he's doing is like, good for you. Like, I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it, but I just even love that one scene where he's going, "That's it. I'm quitting acting. You know, it's been a wonderful ride." And, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're breaking up. What was that again?" As he's like crying into the phone. Like, this is probably, you know, obviously it's being satirized and exaggerated, but this is probably real experiences that he's had with himself. You know, if you look at his career, I'm sure he's had a couple moments where he's debated, you know, just throwing the towel in. I could be speculating, but I'm excited to see where this goes. It looks like it's, you know, balls to the wall all over the place, you know, some bromance in there. I don't know.
Right. I mean, Pedro Pascal, we didn't even talk about it. He's in the trailer as like this eccentric billionaire, I guess, that pays Nicolas Cage to come to the island with him. And their comedic timing together, I mean, just from the trailer alone, looks like it's perfect. I don't know. They have some weird chemistry going on there. There's one scene where like he has like guns at him, they're like about to like shoot each other because I guess something happens. He's like, "I don't want to have to kill you. I love you. I love you too." Like that's just like that's the kind of craziness I expect. And Pedro Pascal, you know, we talk about him in the Mandalorian stuff. He's a really good actor too. You know, he's a really fun actor. I feel like he's got some like zany Nicolas Cage vibes going on in him. Because you see him one way, then you see him being zany in another way. Even Wonder Woman, the newest Wonder Woman, 84 movie, really good. I thought he was actually, I know that movie's terrible, and it definitely is, don't get me wrong. But his part in it, he was the best part. I don't care. He was chewing the scenery all the time, and that's all I could really ask from it. But the end line of that trailer, the "I'm Nick effing woo Cage." I don't know what to say, guys. That's my movie of the year. You guarantee we're going to be talking about that when that comes out. There's no way we can't. Absolutely not. But going into another actor that kind of like creeped up a little bit, Bullet Train got a trailer, which I thought was really interesting. Brad Pitt is back in a movie. Now, what did you guys? I didn't really. I know this is from his production company, which is cool, and it's also from the Deadpool 2 director, who it's funny enough, Brad Pitt was in Deadpool 2 as the invisible guy that was on the team, and he got like zapped in the power lines, and we only saw him for like a half a minute. So I wonder if that's where the connection got started. Adam, what do you think of this? Brad Pitt kind of coming back. He's another one, like I said, Jason Segel earlier disappeared for a while. Brad Pitt's back. What do you think?
I think Brad Pitt's great. I thought the trailer was fantastic. I enjoyed his acting in it. I think it looks like a really entertaining movie, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the choreography looks really cool. Staying Alive cover that's in there is like great. I don't know, the Japanese Staying Alive, that's fantastic. I think if the movie can have as much like visual style and as much like heart-pounding momentum going forward, I think it could separate itself enough from the John Wick comparison I cleverly made, because
I think it has a completely different vibe, honestly, altogether.
Yeah. No,
just by the lighting, the setting altogether, I think it's completely different.
Yeah, and Aaron Taylor Johnson.
The humor.
Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson is interesting. I like him a lot. You know, he's matured a lot as an actor too, starting from his Kick-Ass days to where he is now. It's interesting to see, you know, where his career's gone. You know, especially being that twerpy kid to getting where he is now. I think that's really impressive. How about you, John? You excited for Bullet Train? Is that something you're interested in? We like a good action movie like that. We like a good throwdown.
I mean, it looks good. I mean, it's definitely one I'm going to go out and see.
Yeah, you would.
It's also It's also an interesting thing. Like, it's done on like a train too.
Yeah,
I think like that's kind of like cool. A unique thing.
Trains are awesome. All right, Snowpiercer was an amazing movie, highly underrated. I have not watched the TV show. Don't know what I can't comment on that. We're just talking about Snowpiercer, but that the setting of a train is so close and claustrophobic. Train to Busan, another fantastic movie. Trains are where it's at. I don't care. You want to put some action on a train. Let me have that. I think that's cool though. I want to keep an eye on this movie, so this is something maybe we'll talk about a little bit down the road. I don't know if I'll go to theaters for it. 50-50 if nothing else is playing. Maybe I'll go check it out. Otherwise, it might be more of an on-demand release. But if you're into action, I think you really should keep your eye on this movie. I think you're going to have something good. Check it out. Like I said, Bullet Train. one more movie, actually two more. I'm sorry, but then we're gonna go into a big discussion I want to have. Ambulance is a weird movie. I don't know. Now, are any of you guys Michael Bay fans? Anyone here? Oh no.
Maybe the
Oh,
first
no.
Transformers.
The first Transformers. John, you're saying no? I'm gonna go over there and smack you. I'm gonna climb through this little window here. Nothing.
Nothing. No.
The
Done.
Rock. No one likes The Rock. That's an amazing
done.
movie.
I'm done with
That's a
Michael
Nick
Bay and
Cage
his
movie. Adam,
crazy crap.
Adam, you've seen The Rock, right? Have you seen that?
Nope.
All right, Adam, your homework assignment is to go watch The Rock that has Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage in a movie together. You can't tell me that's not the most amazing thing you've ever heard.
I think it's on Amazon Prime, actually.
Yeah, you're going to go watch that, and we're going to report next podcast about The Rock. We're going to talk about it. Yeah, I think Michael Bay, say what you want about the guy, all right? He knows how to shoot an action movie, in my opinion. You know, his other stuff is very, very questionable. His cinematography is questionable. The Rock, like I said, one of my favorite action movies of all time. Also, I do like Pain and Gain a lot. I know that movie's like kind of weird as far as its factual statements and stuff like that. I think that's a fun ride, though, as much as that can be for glorifying someone murdering someone, I guess. Ooh, controversial. Anyway, Ambulance, I love Jake Gyllenhaal, so I'm kind of excited for this movie. It looks like the trailer almost gave me an aneurysm at one point and a seizure at the same time. There's a lot going on, but it looks kind of interesting. Did anyone have any thoughts on it, really? Or was it kind of just like one of those ones that kind of, don't really care about?
Yeah, that's what I feel. I feel like it's one of those movies where you're kind of just like, it's going to be out there. It's going to be in the theaters for a little while, and then it's going to go right to the $5 bins at Walmart.
Oh, man, a clearance bin movie. Brutal.
Right.
How about you, Adam? You get clearance bin feels from this movie?
Yeah, it just seems like another action film. To me, there are, I don't know, the trailer just makes it look very chaotic.
I think it's a
especially
bad
with
trailer.
all the jump cut. Yeah, there's a lot of jump cuts.
I think it's a bad trailer, but you know what? The sad part is that might be the movie too. So I don't want to say. I just thought it was interesting. I'm surprised Jake Gyllenhaal would do something like that for someone who's had such like a great run of movies recently. Even his like quieter movies, like where he plays the 911 operator. I don't know if anyone checked that one out. That was on Netflix. Again, a really good standout performance. And then he does something like Ambulance, where they're pretending to be EMTs and they're robbing a bank, and there's always some kind of family thing involved. And I think there was a sunset. Again, Michael Bay-isms all around. A hot girl for no apparent reason, just in the movie. Julie hates Michael Bay. She's not really saying much, but she really hates everything Michael Bay. I don't think you even like the first Transformers, do you?
I like the first Transformers. That's fine.
Could have fooled me.
I like he did Bad Boys, right? I like the first Bad Boys.
You
Those
do
are
like
fun.
Bad Boys. We don't talk about
I do
that.
like them. They're fine. They're fun. Pain and Gain's tough. He makes comedy out of,
Yeah, that's a controversial
murderers
one.
where you're like rooting for them when you shouldn't be.
They're really messed up people. We don't talk about that. They're really messed up people.
Yeah. That trailer was all over the place. And the fact that this movie comes out in like a week or two, and this is the first I'm hearing and seeing of it, not a good sign. I don't anticipate it being in theaters for long. And we'll see. I don't know. Are they pretending to be EMTs? But then it also looks like they kind of know what they're doing when they're trying to save people. So they're EMTs, but they're also robbing banks. I have no clue. And I don't really care to find out. So I like Jake Gyllenhaal. Right. Maybe he's just trying to do whatever he can to, get over that bad Taylor Swift press 10 years after the fact. Who knows? I won't be going to see it.
I know you won't be. I wasn't really surprised by that, but I think it's interesting. Sometimes we talk about only good things a lot of the time on this, but we got to talk about some bad things. And I think when you're talking about a trailer, this is a good example of what a bad trailer looks like, if you really want to put it down. I mean, maybe it is representative of the movie that we're getting, but this is it's just a really bad trailer. Bullet Train had a phenomenal trailer. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Regardless of how those movies turned out, I'll go back and say, damn, that trailer really sold me on this movie. Ambulance, I already forgot about it. Sorry. I wish I could say I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but I'm probably not going to enjoy this movie. Maybe, again, I get Netflix original vibes. Maybe not so much the $5 bin at Walmart, but if it was on Netflix, maybe I'd check it out. But God, I'm throwing good money at that movie. Even $5 seems a little bit much at times, but whatever. last one I just want to talk about, and this is more for Julie, because this was one that she brought to my attention. She read the book of this. It's called Where the Crawdads Sing. Do you want to just talk just a little bit about this and what you thought of it, and then I'll go around seeing what everyone else thought about it. Again, it's not the typical, we got to change it up a little bit. We're always talking about action movies and superhero things and sci-fi. What's going on, Julie? What's with this? Why should we pay attention to this?
Well, the book, I really enjoyed the book. It was a book, I'm a slow reader because I only read like maybe a chapter a night. I read this book pretty quickly. I usually follow it's on Reese Witherspoon's book club, her book list, and she usually has really good books on there. So anytime I see that sticker, I do go out of my way to pick up the book. And I really loved it. The setting is just very, you get engrossed in the setting, which is like the bayou down like Louisiana type area. Really deep characters, and then it turns into a murder mystery. I really don't want to go into the plot, but again, the main protagonist is someone called the Marsh Girl because she literally lives in the marsh by herself. And every time she's depicted, it's usually dirty. She's, fishing. She's doing what she's got to do to survive. And then I watched the trailer, which I was so excited because I knew they were making a movie, and it just looks too clean. I definitely get some like Lifetime movie vibe, TV movie vibe from it. It's a dark, gritty story, not super dark, but as dark as one of those books can be. And it just looks too clean for me. I think it's going to be a little too cheesy. The actress who's playing her, I actually really like. She was in the movie Fresh. I thought she did a good job. I'm like, okay, I think that's good casting. But as far as the direction's going to go and the overall aesthetic of the film, I think it's going to be a little too like neat and tidy for me personally.
Yeah, I got that vibe for sure. When you told me about this, I remember when you were reading the book, actually, we had talked about it and you'd brought up the plot. I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting, actually, as far as a mystery. I didn't get that at all. I know Adam was shaking his head like Lifetime movie vibes. Is that what you were getting the whole time, pretty much?
Yeah, actually, it's funny that I didn't know it was a book at the time.
Right.
But after I saw the trailer, I was like, this reminds me of one of those like books you have to read in school, and then after you're done reading the book,
right,
they show you the movie.
Yeah,
that's what I got from it.
Ooh, that's a good one. I actually like that. I never
Definitely.
That crossed my mind. Yeah. That's pretty cool. How about John? John, you interested in that movie?
Hell no, unless Jason Voorhees shows up. I don't care about this movie.
Oh,
another Lifetime crap I gotta watch.
Oh my god, it seems like it. Unfortunately, because I'll probably Julie's gonna want to check it out, so I think we'll check it out together. But if I didn't know about it ahead of time, again, another one where, and I also didn't get a vibe really at all what's going on. This is another example, I think, of another like not so well cut trailer where I was kind of like, all right, well, like this girl, it looks like she lives in the swamp, maybe. Something like that happened.
I think the book could be a lot better than like the movie is. Like,
yeah,
the movie makes it seem more like the drawn out process of.
It's just Lifetimey, it is. I mean, that really is like it's just very Lifetimey, and based on what Julie describes being the actual story, I expected something a little different. And when I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, this is the thing you were hyping up about. I don't know. It's interesting to see. I always like that comparison too, where you have a vision of something in your mind, and then when you see it brought to life on the screen, you're like, oh, that's not what I thought. Is that what disappointment feels like?
Yeah, and this is tough. Like, I feel like, stuff I've been reading lately hasn't had like adaptations for the most part. So this is the first time in a while where like I had my vision in my head, and then seeing the trailer, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't line up quite right. So, we'll see.
Yeah, and ironically, there's a Taylor Swift song in this movie. That was like my biggest
Which
takeaway
really
from
bothers
it.
me.
After Ambulance, Jake Gyllenhaal, man, you got to watch out.
Oh yeah, it bothers me more so. And again, I'm not huge into either of these artists, but the song gives me such Lana Del Rey vibes. And when I found out it was Taylor Swift, I'm like, oh, she's kind of copying Lana, in my opinion.
Girl, you better watch yourself. You're gonna get stepped on by Taylor Swift.
I feel like the song was from The Great Gatsby, to be honest.
Right, which is Lana Del Rey. Exactly.
Good movie, man. I like that movie. Whatever. Anyway, enough about where the Crawdads sing. Maybe you guys want to check it out. Anyone who likes the Lifetime kind of aspects, there might be something for them. I think most of us
Hey,
here.
some of those Lifetime movies are hilarious.
They're so bad you can't stop watching them.
Yeah.
That's for
You
sure.
know what, Adam? Maybe we're gonna have to address that at some point. We've got to pull
I
a
think we could
I
Lifetime
pick a
am
watch
movie.
list.
so down.
You know what? They do like a couple of like events a year. We can maybe do something with that because they
Okay.
hook you in so badly. And this is a sidetrack. There was one. It was like on a Mother's Day event that they were doing, and Lori Loughlin from Full House. She was in this movie, and it was just on the TV. And me and my brother were like, "This is so stupid." And then we sat down and we watched the whole movie, and it was still very stupid. But that's Lifetime for you.
John is
Yeah,
very
I've got a
upset.
couple favorites.
Yeah, a
if
couple
you ever
favorites.
need them.
All
Yeah.
right, as long as you got them. All right, keep those back pocket, man. We're gonna bring those out
Favorites.
soon.
Favorites on Lifetime.
Hey, listen, you know what? We got something for everybody, right? This is a channel where we
There's
let everybody
classics
in. We're
on there.
very
There really is.
Hey, we're very inclusive. We want everybody in on this channel. We watch everything. What can we say? Speaking of everything, time travel, ladies and gentlemen. Time travel is back on Netflix with The Adam Project. I know Adam was really excited. Sorry, it's not about you, Adam. I know you thought it was, but
My
sorry.
movie's coming out eventually.
Eventually, well, we're working on it. We're trying to get the rights secured. We got a big budget going. It is what it is. Adam Project though. Michael Bay produced. Yeah, Michael Bay produced. We'll put a sunset in there. Get some hot girl. We got this. We got this. Don't worry. But the Adam Project, I saw pop up on Netflix. Now, whenever I see an original like Netflix movie, I get really nervous. I don't know about anybody else. Is like, I don't know, right? I think there's like a stigma attached to it to some extent, where it's like it's not going to be like the highest quality. It's not going to be terrible. It's going to be like maybe mediocre at best. The Adam Project, I didn't really know anything about. I saw there was like a trailer like maybe a few months ago. It popped up, and I was like, all right, that seemed kind of interesting. Ryan Reynolds coming into a show, which I think is interesting. We also have Jennifer Gardner, Mark Ruffalo, Zoe Salata. So we have a big like cast of actors in this movie. I checked it out. I really liked it. I actually had a really good time with this movie, and I kind of didn't expect that. But before I go into my thoughts, I want to go around. Adam, what were some of your thoughts on the Adam Project?
No, I really enjoyed it too. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a unique take on excuse me, the like time travel. I enjoyed that. I thought that just the execution of that was really well. I think the child in the movie, whose name I'm forgetting right now, he did a very good job portraying the younger version of the Ryan Reynolds character.
Walker Scobell, and this is his first movie, actually, believe it or not. Wow.
Yeah,
Good for
I think
him.
he did really well. As he stole the show, all the scenes that he was in. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, he was the perfect young Ryan Reynolds, I think, in my opinion. I think he did a really, especially for a kid actor, it's so hard to find like a legitimately good child actor. Yeah, really good though.
yeah, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, and I think, what did you think of some of the sci-fi stuff? Now, a big thing I saw with this is it borrows a lot from your cliche sci-fi movies.
Right.
Star Wars, there's a lightsaber in the movie, pretty much. It's fine. A lot of time travel elements. There's a movie which is one of my favorite movies. I don't really talk about too much. The Last Starfighter. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that movie.
No.
Really, really old. I believe it's like late 70s, early 80s. Really good film about this guy who gets like abducted on a mission. He's playing a video game, and they take him. It's actually like a simulation program for like this real space battle, and he gets taken up. It's kind of similar, not the plot wise, but like some of the thematic wise and some of the imagery. I got like a really heavy like 80s nostalgia vibe from this movie. Did you get a lot of that? Like in a good way, in a good nostalgia way?
Yeah. No, it definitely did not detract from it at all. I thought, if anything, it enhanced it. I really liked all the whole entire vibe of the movie. Was very fun.
Yeah, and I like the idea, like that E.T. Again, it borrows from a lot of movies, like the E.T. Like he's hiding young
Right.
Adam's hiding older Adam in like his shed, so from his mom. Like silly stuff like that. Those angles, I really do enjoy that, and the thematic elements I think are really strong. Julie, what did you think of the Adam Project? Are you a big Ryan Reynolds fan? We kind of here and there. You told me
I'm
one
hot and
thing that
cold.
was funny about Ryan Reynolds. You showed
Oh
me.
yeah. I'm hot and cold with Ryan Reynolds. I do think he's funny, but sometimes he's just a lot. Yeah, I did show Kevin. There was a TikTok that came up where this guy, it was like share a fact that once you know it, you can't unsee it. And the guy said essentially Ryan Reynolds is constantly doing an Ace Ventura impression, but if Ace Ventura was a normal person. So the guy does an impression, an Ace Ventura impression, and then he says that same line the way Ryan Reynolds says it, and you can't unhear it once you do. He just, I don't know, his delivery, he's always that same snarky, sarcastic character, which is fine. He does that character very well, but sometimes it's just annoying.
Did you think he brought anything different to this movie, or do you think it was just your typical
I
Ryan
think
Reynolds?
um I think he did bring a little bit more. I will say, like, as far as like the thematic elements go, I do like how it deals with grief, especially when you're looking at, the older version of Adam versus, who's had to carry this burden, carry this grief, through his adult life, versus the younger Adam, who it's still very fresh and raw. And when they do encounter their father, Mark Ruffalo, their understandings of different situations. Ryan Reynolds holds more bitterness in his heart towards it, where the younger version of Adam's more, well, no, this is just what had to be. So I think it dealt with that very well. And it was fun to see, as much as, the kid was like the perfect young Ryan Reynolds. And then you see Mark Ruffalo, which Mark Ruffalo, he's got good range, I think. And it was funny to see, you're like, oh, they're all very similar. You can understand how that, that's the father and these are the sons. They have the same sense of humor. I thought that was a really fun dynamic. And I personally am a huge 13 going on 30 fan. So it was nice to see Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner reunite as a romantic couple. I think we only had one scene with them actually together. But that was cute to see. Yeah, overall, it was a fun movie. I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because my initial view is, it's Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds again. So I did have more fun with the movie than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's fun, that 13 going on 30 factoid. It's really funny that it ended up happening. I think this movie, I love the time travel aspect of it. I think it's really good that way. I mean, there are some inconsistencies what time travel movie doesn't, you know what I mean? I'm not going to harp on that. The sci-fi vibe, again, I really liked. I think the comedy works for the most part. There's nothing like too outlandish. I mean, some of it's maybe a little more adult, but some of it'll go over the kids' heads. So if you're watching this as a family film, I think it's okay. The big thing for me, which I think it kind of touched me in like a weird way. I know that sounded bad, but hear me out here. It really, like, that the grief aspect of it, I think, is really powerful, and it's not something I expected from this movie. The fact that we see, like Julie elegantly said, pretty much, that we have an older Ryan Reynolds, an older Adam dealing grief from his perspective, and a younger version of himself dealing with the loss of his father from another perspective, and seeing the two sides kind of conform together to form, an ultimate opinion where one consoles the other and vice versa. There's a scene towards the end of the movie. Now, I don't think this is a spoiler. The father dies at the beginning of the movie. We know that Mark Ruffalo's dead. And throughout the movie, you see young Adam. He's impacted by it, but not fully yet. And older Adam, played by Ryan Reynolds, is fully impacted by it. Like, we see what happened to his life afterwards, right? He's had some successes. He's had a lot of downtrodden. He's had a lot of problems because of this event. And it's interesting to see, like, from that younger perspective, like, young Adam's not blaming his father for everything that happened. He's lost his dad, right? He misses his dad. He feels that emotion. Older Adam's blaming his dad. You see that cycle, which I don't think is nearly represented enough in movies, where a typical time travel movie would be like, oh, I got to go back in time and save my dad from dying. That's not what this movie's about. This movie is really about, as much as it is a comedy, it's a drama about just dealing with trauma, dealing with an event like that, and coming to terms with what your reality actually is. I think that's really deep, and it's not something I expected at all from this movie. I'm like, wow, that's something totally different. John, what are your thoughts on the Adam Project? Did you have a good time with it? Would you recommend it to somebody?
I mean, I thought it was overall a decent movie. I didn't think it. There wasn't any parts where I was like, "Oh my god, this movie needs to end" or anything. I thought it, even like the comedic timing in it, like the little jokes here back and forth, then with like the bullies, and then him going, like, older Adam saying he has to like take care of like this bully and stuff. Like, he doesn't want to change anything that's going to happen, but he's like, this is just something I have to do for younger me to like stand up to this kid.
Yeah, and it's
And
again,
then
it adds to that like the understanding aspect of it, where like older Adam understands like there's some things that have to happen to me in order for me to like it's gonna work out, but I have to have it happen a certain way. But younger Adam still doesn't understand that. So I like that dynamic it plays with. We don't see that typically. I don't think.
no, and also I think it shows you like it has so many like underlying things that it kind of does well in this movie that tells you different things. Like when you get older, you look back on some of the things that you go through in life, and you look at them completely different than when you're going through it. And it almost shows you like there's a lot of things that in life you're gonna have to get over and go through, and it's not all gonna just take you down. Like there's gonna be things you're gonna grow from and learn from. Like I thought it was also funny. Like the kid's so happy that when he grows older, he gets to be like muscular and strong. But then he kind of takes a dig at him. He's like, "Do I also skip like leg day and stuff?" So I think like those little things also make.
Or he's
it, like,
also like, do I get stupider or something like that? Like, am I like oh, I look good, but I'm stupid now.
He's like, "Well, I mean, I guess all this mental stuff went to my body because now I'm dumb."
Yeah, no, it's
I thought
true.
it was a good movie though.
No,
like overall,
yeah.
definitely a decent movie.
Yeah.
The only weird part I thought was weird was the way that they parked, like how he parked his jet. Like it seemed very weird, like to just park it on top of trees. Like seemed like I was like, okay, I guess that could happen, whatever. But like it just seemed very strange.
John picking at the Adam Project's logic of parking a jet. You gotta love it. That's fantastic. The one thing he picks from the movie, the way he parked the jet. I didn't really like the way he parked the jet on top of the trees.
Like it was just seemed dumb. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's definitely, it's silly, right? I mean, there's a lot of that in this movie. But I think overall, it was just a really good time. I was not expecting to enjoy this. For those who don't know, this is a Sean Levy film. This is his second collaboration with Ryan Reynolds. Adam, we talked about it in the previous episode. You loved Free Guy. You actually thought that was a way better time, like I did. I enjoyed that as well. So this is their second collaboration. Do you think Sean Levy has like a good rapport with Ryan Reynolds? Do you think? Like,
yeah, no, I
think he knows how to use him. I feel like in a movie.
Yeah, I think they're working out quite well, and I know they're supposed to be working on Deadpool 3 together.
Yeah,
so
getting a little stabby per the trailer. Or they had like a poster that they put out had all three Ryan Reynolds on there. So
yes, yeah. So I keeps happening the same exact way where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that movie, and then it like exceeds my expectations.
Yeah, and it's interesting because again, I don't think Ryan Reynolds did anything different in this movie. Maybe I think he gave us a little more of a subtle emotional performance, but he still kept his shtick going a lot. So I like that. That's fine with me. I know what I'm getting, but I got something a little extra. But overall, if I had to give an Adam Project a score, I'm probably going to put it at a solid B+. I think it's a really good movie. I had, again, the emotional stuff's really good, especially if you dive deep into it, which is something I'd love to talk about in the future. I think there's a lot there to talk about. My only negatives, really, I think at times it felt a little slow, especially towards the middle. There were some like downbeats, which is like a pacing thing. It was kind of like with Free Guy as well. I was like the same way. So again, it's just it's more of a critique than anything else. I don't think it hurts the movie. If you weren't looking for anything spectacular, I think this is a good time. Also, some of the special effects are Netflix. It's what you're going to get with the budget they had. The de-aging of one character in particular, she it didn't look so great. Let's put it that way. It could have been better, but again, you're getting this Netflix movie. There's going to be limitations, but they did their best. They worked around like only a couple of scenes. Really, were a couple of sceneries. Really, it wasn't like a lot of settings. It was just like maybe 3 or 4 places in particular that they kind of kept the movie to. So he worked with what he had. This director knows what he's doing. Sean Levy, I think there's a lot of things to come. John, where would you give this movie to give it a grade?
I give this a solid B. I thought it was definitely a decent movie. Definitely one like I was shocked going into after watching it. I was very surprised.
Okay, all right.
Go
ahead. Yeah. Nice. Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it, John. Julie, how about you? Where are you laying with this movie? What do you think?
I guess I'll go with a B+. I think it hit the emotional beats, harder than I was expecting. And it was a good time. So yeah, I'd give it a B+.
All right, very cool, very cool. And Adam, last but not least, what do you give the Adam Project, Adam? It's got your name. It better be good.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, I'm gonna give it a B plus as well.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So
Yeah.
good. I think we all recommend it. I think if you guys get a chance, you should check out the Adam Project. It's definitely worth your time, especially with that Netflix subscription. Not watching anything else, I think that's something for you to see. Before we close, though, I want to ask something. We've talked a lot this whole episode about comic book movies, comic book adaptations. Wow, everyone's like shaking in their boots, like, oh my god.
I saw Adam like immediately
oh
tense
no,
up.
everyone's tensing up. I want to ask you. We talked about Nicolas Cage and Ghost Rider, right? We talked about that. What is your least favorite comic book portrayal of a character? What do you think was like the worst out of anything you've seen as far as like a comic book character? Who do you think had like the worst performance? Like it's like the worst like let's just say if you, for example, like Ghost Rider's not mine, but if you hated Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, you thought that was the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. What movie, when you went to go see it, had a comic book character where you were like, that's not at all what I was looking for? Like that's not at all. Either it's the movie, the performance, we're talking about everything. What really let you down when you went to go see that movie? And everyone gets silent. So as always, Kevin has to go first. So really what it comes down to, and for me, and anyone who knows me knows one of my favorite comic book characters ever was Hellboy, right? Everyone knows how much I love Hellboy. And Ron Perlman's performance as Hellboy was the best performance of Hellboy that there ever could be on the entire planet. Hands down, it was the best for me. So, come circa 2019, we decided to reboot the franchise. David Harbour, I like him a lot. He is a terrible Hellboy. He's a terrible Hellboy in a terrible movie. I couldn't even finish the movie, and there's very few times where I step away and I don't want to watch anything. Like, I couldn't continue it. It was by far the worst. He was so uninterested, didn't care, disjointed. Just the movie is terrible. He's terrible. I can't tell you another time I think I was more let down by a comic book movie than that film. Again, I know there were a lot of issues with that movie, which I'm not going to go all into. There were a lot of, like, him and the director were fighting, the makeup he hated, the prosthetics, and all these issues. There's at times you can tell he didn't like the prosthetics because he didn't have them on half the time or they were applied wrong. That movie is a disaster and a half. How it even exists, I don't know. Beyond me, though, I can't think of a time I was more disappointed by a comic book portrayal. All right, who's next? Who's got tribute?
I volunteers tribute.
All right, Adam's up. What do you got? What disappointed you, Adam?
The movie X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just the movie as a whole is kind of disappointing. But there was a few of the characters where I just feel like they just fell flat. And one of my all-time favorite superheroes, which is Nightcrawler.
Right.
I was very excited that he was in the film. Very disappointed as to what happened, just transpired in that film with him. It was all very upsetting.
Yeah, I think everything about that movie is pretty terrible. Yes. I mean, it's tough too because you had Oscar Isaac, where he's kind of, he's rebounding now. He's Moon Knight, so we're going to be okay. But let's not forget who he actually was before that, on his platform shoes, walking around as friggin' Apocalypse. That's something. That was if you want to talk about disappointment. Poor Oscar Isaac being short. It's not even that. That movie is just bad on all accounts. Like, you can tell that was towards the. And it's funny because it got a sequel even after that. Like, how did that happen? That we got Dark Phoenix after that movie? Because that's just as bad.
Yes, yeah, it's weird because I repressed that movie somehow. Because I always just go to Apocalypse, but yeah, I know it's very interesting that they were
Dark
able
Phoenix,
to.
Like, it didn't happen. You're like in the corner,
Yes.
It didn't happen.
Yes,
it's rough. No, I think that's up there, like, worst. And it's tough because it's like the performances themselves. Like, I think some of them are okay for the most part. I think like Nicholas Hoult is good as Beast. Michael Fassbender, as always, is going to be a good Magneto. I don't think James McAvoy, Charles Xavier, obviously, like all those people do their part. Jennifer Lawrence, love them. I don't know. She's interesting as Mystique. I never liked the direction they took. So that's just me personally. But Evan Peters, as Julie mentioned so elegantly, as Quicksilver, He's by far the best Quicksilver we ever got. I don't care what you say about the Avengers. That was not Quicksilver. I don't know.
And it's
That was
like
bad.
the movie can be horrible, but when he steps onto the screen and he does his slow-mo, save the day, incredible every time.
You wait for
That
it.
is like the
Yeah.
scene I will always like look up. Or,
Yes.
yeah, that's
And
all I have to see from the
And
movie.
I never saw the Dark Phoenix movie, but apparently he gets like shot in the leg or something in the beginning, so he doesn't even get to do a scene in that
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah, so that should tell you something right there. But yeah, good pick, Adam. I have to admit, I think I'm up there with you on that as far as that. Julie, how about you? Was there one that really disappointed you?
It's tough. I don't know. I feel like I don't have like super strong connections to a lot of characters that have been, done dirty. I'm still bummed about Evan Peters in WandaVision, but that doesn't really count because his
It does
part,
to an extent. It does. If you were
yeah,
disappointed.
I thought he was going to be Quicksilver and then he was the whatever boner guy. But when we thought he was Quicksilver, he was good. Um, I don't know, I guess circling back to Dane DeHaan again as the Green Goblin, I think he could have had a lot of potential to be a really cool Green Goblin. And I don't know if it was just the visual aesthetic that ruined it. But that was just kind of a shame overall. I mean, we got to see Willem Dafoe don, hop on the glider again this past December, and there's no one better than him. So it's tough to compete with him. But I just feel like, not that he's as iconic as the Joker, but you have the Green Goblin, and he just wasn't done to the standard I expected in the Amazing Spider-Man film.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think that's something, that should be addressed. That was probably, it's sad that was like one of the last Green Goblins we got, and then we had to bring back the original because no one else could do it better at that point. It's a shame. I think there was just miscasting all around.
There's a reason why Dane wasn't in the new Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. And they were afraid to mention him even too.
But I think he could have been okay. I really do think he could have. I think it was,
I agree.
Yeah, direction, and I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely a reason why he wasn't in it.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's easy. Like I always say, like that Fantastic Four might be like the worst portrayal I've ever seen in a comic book movie. I didn't watch that movie, the Fanforstic movie, but it's one of those things. I'm just assuming it's really bad. There's a couple that I have up there, which maybe I'll talk about a little bit. Let's see what John's got though. John, what do you got? What disappointed you the most out of anything you've seen comic book movie wise?
Well, we're gonna go to Batman and Robin.
Wow.
And Chris O'Donnell does Robin.
What?
Terrible job.
You didn't
Worst
like
Robin ever.
30-year-old Robin.
Disappointed. Robin's never made another appearance because he ruined Robin.
It's
terrible.
It's it's funny you bring that up. Like Robin, it always gets such a bad rap, and I actually really like the Robin character, but we never. It's like taboo to go into Robin. Like I think the studios are afraid to bring him because I feel like that's the death of Batman whenever he
even
appears.
In the Christian Bale movies, they have Joseph Gordon-Levitt being like the Robin. He's never officially Robin, but like that's what they're setting it up to be. And it's like, why are you picking like middle-aged men to be Robin? Like,
yeah, no, that sticks with you. Chris O'Donnell's Robin is like, oof. But you know what? It's also one of those movies too. Now, John, I think you're gonna agree. When we were kids, that movie was awesome. Batman Forever was fantastic. You can't say you didn't like it. It's just when we grew up, we realized, oh shit, what do we actually like?
He fucked up Robin.
Yeah, pretty much. And Batman and Robin, oof, Batwoman, and at least she's getting a new series, Batgirl. That's good. She'll be getting a new movie soon, so we'll see a little bit of redemption for Barbara Gordon there. Or it wasn't even Barbara Gordon, I don't think, in Batman and Robin. It was something else. I can't remember what her name was. She was related to Alfred.
She was related to Alfred, yeah.
That was stupid.
So she was Pennyworth.
Yeah, Barbara Pennyworth.
I'm surprised that, I never saw the movie. No one mentioned Halle Berry as Catwoman.
Yeah, that hurts. But you know what? We've had enough good Catwomen to kind of like circumvent that. We had the best, we had a terrible, and then we had Zoe Kravitz, who I think did a really good job. One of my big ones, and I didn't mention this, which I got to mention it right before we wrap up, Keanu Reeves as John Constantine. I love the John Constantine character. I don't know who's familiar with him, as far as I am. I love Keanu Reeves, and I love him too, but that is a miscast beyond belief there. I don't know what they were thinking with that movie. Attempting a kind of a British accent, but not really, and just that was a nightmare of a film to exist in the first place. I know it has some love out there. Shia LaBeouf's in that movie too. So, you know, that's a weird cast choice of Shia LaBeouf and Keanu Reeves. Oofa. But I think we all had some really interesting stuff. You know, it's fun to see what characters have lasted in our minds as far as what we've liked and what we didn't like. I just thought it'd be interesting just to see, you know, what we didn't necessarily like. But anyway, thank you all guys for joining us so much for this episode of The Real Guys Live. We love having you guys, you know, join us just to hear our thoughts and just talk nonsense about movies and everything you love and like. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. My name's Kevin. This is The Real Guys signing out. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.